Ford and Toyota ditched all their cars for cheap prices, and it is all thanks to a new model they try to copy from Tesla. I'm not talking about discounts. This is something called direct-to-customer, and it is called that because there are no middlemen, no dealers, just you and the manufacturers, just like Amazon. This will change everything we know about the industry, and trust me, it will affect you one way or another. Let me explain. Why this is a big deal? Imagine chilling on your couch, maybe in your comfiest PJs, scrolling through your phone. Suddenly, you realize you can design your dream car right then and there. How cool is that? And on top of that, these cars will all be available for a cheap price tag. Way cheaper than what we are used to. Now, I know all of this seems too good to be true, and I thought it was a really risky move too. But they've been planning this for a long time, and to be honest, they have this thing all figured out. The secret that you need to understand is what they learned from their past attempts. You know this is not their first, and when I looked into their past trials, it really got me asking, are dealerships the problem? Now, don't get offended when I say this, there are a few ones that have been so helpful in doing the right things. But you would be saying the same thing if you knew the details. You see, back in 2020, when the whole world's gone digital and Toyota's said it is time, and rolled out this snazzy new platform called SmartPath. Sounds cool, right? Like you just click a button and bam, new car in your driveway. If only it were that simple. Now, don't get me wrong, SmartPath had some serious potential. It was like Toyota was trying to mash up the comfort of online shopping with the excitement of picking out your dream ride in person. Imagine customizing your perfect car while lounging in your PJs, saving it for later, like it's in your Amazon cart, and then deciding whether you want to go to the dealership or have them bring the car to you. But here's where things get a bit, well, complicated. SmartPath was supposed to be this shiny new toy, but it came with some old school problems. Remember those pesky dealer markups? You know, when you think you've found the perfect price and suddenly there's an extra couple grand tackled on? Yeah, those didn't magically disappear, so a lot of people didn't see the point of this platform. Unsurprisingly, SmartPath didn't exactly set the world on fire, but while we were all pointing fingers at Toyota for fumbling the ball, it turns out the real culprits might have been hiding in plain sight. The dealerships themselves. Let's break it down. Dealerships are businesses, right? And businesses like to make money, shocking. I know, now they do make a pretty penny from selling cars. But the real gold mine? It's all the extras. We're talking financing, insurance, extended warranties, all that stuff you feel pressured to buy when you're sitting in that tiny office, pen hovering over the contract. So, when Toyota introduced this online buying option, the dealership saw their cash cow potentially walking out the door. And how did they react? Well, let's just say they weren't exactly jumping for joy. Instead of embracing SmartPath and working with Toyota to make it a success, many dealerships simply didn't. They dragged their feet, they pushed back, and they found loopholes. Why? Because their incentives to sell weren't being met. It's like asking a lion to become a vegetarian, it's just not in their nature. To be honest, it was an absurd strategy. Think about it, that same year, Toyota reported a total of over 2.1 million vehicles sold in the United States through its traditional dealership network, and Ford, approximately 843,000 units. Now, imagine losing all those sweet add-ons just because the manufacturer wanted to change things up. But for Ford and Toyota, this is not an acceptable thing. Research from McKinsey & Company suggests that automakers implementing direct-to-consumer sales models could experience up to a 15% increase in market share within 3 years of implementation. And for you and me, it means we can get their cars without the additional add-ons, which means cheaper price tags. Plus, convenience. Think about it, you're in control. Want that sleek sunroof you've always dreamed of? Click! Craving those toasty heated seats for those chilly mornings? Bam, it's all at your fingertips. No more trudging from dealership to dealership on your precious weekends, trying to decipher car lingo that sounds like it's from another planet. But before you get too excited, start rooting for Ford and Toyota. Let me tell you the implication behind this giant decision. And trust me, you're going to want to watch this, because it is not all sunshine and rainbows as it seems. The baggage. You see, the shift to a direct-to-sales approach comes as a package of mixed things. Let's start with the most controversial one that every one of us can relate to. Have you ever felt like your phone's listening to you? Like that one time you mentioned wanting a burrito and suddenly your Instagram's flooded with Chipotle ads? Well, buckle up because we're about to dive into the world of data collection in the automotive industry. And it's a wild ride. Now, I know what you're thinking, this is creepy. And yeah, I get it. That nagging feeling of being watched can be enough to make anyone want to chuck their smartphone out the window. But when used responsibly, data isn't just collected for some creepy stalker. It's more like that super smart friend who always knows exactly what you need before you do. Think about it, when you're scrolling through their website at 2 a.m. configuring your dream ride, you're leaving digital breadcrumbs everywhere. And these companies? They're not just picking up those crumbs, they're making data banks. Every click, every feature you drool over, every add-on you consider, that's all going into Ford and Toyota's big data book. And trust me, they're going to whip up something so useful and specific to you with it. But it's not just about what car you want, it's about how you shop for it too. Are you the type to research for weeks before making a decision? Or are you more of a see it, like it, buy it kind of person? This information is gold for these companies. It helps them understand not just what you want, but how you want it served up to you. Now, I know some of you are probably thinking, great, more targeted ads, just what I needed. But hold your horses, this data collection isn't just about bombarding you with more ads for cars you can't afford, although, let's be real, that'll probably happen too. It's about creating better cars, smoother buying experiences, and maybe, just maybe, finally fixing that cup holder design that's been driving us all nuts for years. Because this data isn't just about the car you buy, it's about how you use it too. This is just the beginning. Are you a speed demon always pushing the limits, or more of a Sunday driver cruising with the windows down? This kind of information can help car companies design vehicles that fit our actual driving habits, not just what they think we want. And let's not forget about after-sales service. Imagine your car sending a heads up to the manufacturer that it needs a tune-up before you even notice a problem. Or getting personalized tips on how to improve your fuel efficiency based on your actual driving patterns. It's like having a super smart, always-on mechanic riding shotgun with you. But are we ready to trade a bit of our privacy for potentially better cars and smoother buying experiences? There's no easy answer, folks. It's a balancing act between innovation and privacy, between convenience and control. But one thing's for sure, the future of car buying is going to look a whole lot different than it does today. And we just talked about one of the side effects this thing has. Let's talk about the broader impact. The big picture. Ever wondered what would happen if your local car dealership suddenly vanished into thin air? Imagine the small towns where everybody knows each other and the biggest employer in town is the local car dealership. Now, what if that dealership disappeared out of nowhere? Scary, right? You see, Ford and Toyota aren't just shaking up how we buy cars, they're potentially turning entire local economies upside down. It's like they're playing a giant game of Jenga with these small towns, and they've just pulled out a pretty crucial block. Now, I know what you're thinking. Come on, it's just a car dealership. But hold your horses, my friend. In many of these towns, that dealership isn't just a place to buy a shiny new ride, it's the heartbeat of the community. It's Little League sponsorships, it's jobs for our neighbors, it's the company that pays the most tax. The reason why Main Street still has lights on. Without it, well, you can imagine. A study by the Center for Automotive Research indicates that new car dealerships contribute approximately $95 billion annually to the U.S. economy through jobs created, taxes paid, and services provided. Approximately 4% of total employment in the U.S. automotive sector. According to the National Automobile Dealers Association, dealerships employ over 1 million people across the U.S. In many small towns, local dealerships can be the largest employers, providing crucial job opportunities. Ford and Toyota need to figure this out, but to be honest, these are not all their problems. Think about it, these car giants are used to churning out vehicles and letting dealerships handle the messy business of actually selling them. Now, they're trying to become the Amazon of automobiles overnight. It's not easy. It's a logistical nightmare wrapped in a regulatory puzzle, but every pothole they hit and every wrong turn they take, it's all valuable intel for the rest of the industry. It's like Ford and Toyota are writing the How to Sell Cars in the 21st Century for Dummies book in real time for all the other companies, just like Tesla did and opened their eyes. And hey, Who knows, maybe in a few years, we'll all be laughing about how we used to spend our weekends haggling over floor mats and extended warranties. Or maybe we'll be waxing nostalgic about the good old days of free coffee and test drives? Only time will tell, but one thing is for sure, these dealerships are not about to give up without a fight. You see, just Toyota and Ford studied the game and are about to change it. It seems like the dealerships have one trick up their sleeves, and to be honest with you, I didn't expect it. No one expected it would be like this. They're getting their hands dirty, and it is about to be a full-on war. But we need to talk about the details, so let's. The comeback. Remember those quaint little small-town dealerships where everyone knew each other? Well, they're becoming as rare as a manual transmission in a new car. Why? Because we're smack in the middle of a dealership feeding frenzy that would make Pac-Man jealous. Giant dealership groups are out there buying up smaller ones day by day. It's like watching the corporate version of an all-you-can-eat buffet, and boy, are these big boys hungry. But here's the million-dollar question, or should I say billion-dollar? What's the deal with all this consolidation? Well, these mega dealerships are strutting around town, promising us the moon and stars. Better prices? Check. More cars to choose from? You bet. Plus, with service so fancy, you'll feel like you're at a car spa. It's like they're trying to be the Walmart of cars, a one-stop shop for all your automotive needs. If you need an oil change, they've got you. Looking for a rare limited edition model? They'll find it. But who are they kidding? Can these supersized dealerships really deliver on all these promises? I mean, can they keep that warm and fuzzy small-town feel while juggling a bazillion cars at once? It's like asking your local diner to suddenly become a 5-star restaurant. Possible, but tricky. So I started digging a little deeper, and let me tell you what shocked me. Have you ever heard of this thing called franchise laws? These laws are the secret weapon these now gigantic dealerships are wielding against the direct-to-consumer model like it's a sword. In most states, it's like there's a giant no-cutting sign for car manufacturers. They've got to sell those shiny new rides through dealerships, not zoom past them with their fancy DTC websites. It's like being the only kid allowed to sell lemonade on your blog, a pretty sweet deal, right? Some states like Connecticut and Louisiana are like the overprotective parents of the dealership world. They've straight up banned DTC sales. It's like they've put up a no Ford allowed sign on the state border. And get this, franchise laws don't just protect dealerships from competition, they're also like a bulletproof vest against unfair treatment. Imagine if your boss could fire you just because they felt like it on a Monday morning. Scary, right? Well, these laws say manufacturers need a darn good reason to kick you out and, in this case, kick dealerships to the curb. We want to try this new cool DTC thing, doesn't cut it, it's job security on steroids. But here's where it gets really wild. There is no denying that cars are getting smarter. They're driving themselves and updating like your smartphone. So guess what? Franchise laws are getting a high-tech makeover too. In states like West Virginia and Virginia, they're not protecting dealerships, they're making sure they get paid for being tech support. Imagine getting compensated every time you have to explain to your grandma how to update software. And that is not all. These franchise laws often give dealerships exclusive territories. It's like having your own personal automotive kingdom where no other dealership can set up shop. And when will these big dealerships buy up the little guys? They're not just expanding, they're creating empires. National Automobile Dealers Association data revealed that 60% of new car dealerships in the US were owned by large dealership groups as of 2021. This trend has increased significantly as large groups acquire smaller dealerships to expand their reach and market share. Nowadays, 1 in 5 dealerships is now owned by groups with more than 5 stores. And this is not going to stop anytime soon, because larger dealership groups are seeing profitability soar even during challenging economic times, whereas small-town dealerships struggle to maintain margins and remain competitive. For instance, publicly traded dealer groups reported operating profits that were more than 40% higher than those of smaller, privately owned dealerships. This creates a vicious cycle that makes small ones lose money and eventually look for buyers so they can sort out their finances and leave the market for good. But if you think this is the end game, you would be wrong. You see, these dealership giants are teaming up like some automotive Avengers, lobbying for even stronger laws. We're talking about legislation that could make DTC sales as rare as a unicorn. But through all these fights, Ford and Toyota seem dedicated. There is no going back for them, there is no plan B. Why? Well, it is all about the dollars. The big motivator. Look, this thing started with making their pockets fatter, but now it is about survival. Just recently, Ford revealed that they are losing a mind-blowing $2,000 per car just by sticking to the old-school dealership model. Now, here is where it gets really bonkers. 2/3 of that $2,000? It's basically going up in smoke on ads and letting cars get some tanning on dealership lots. And when Ford realized this, they pulled one sneak trick. Remember the Mustang Mach-E and F-150 Lightning? These bad boys were selling like hotcakes without Ford having to empty their wallets on ads. It's like they whispered, electric, and poof, sold out. Now, you'd think with all this online selling success, dealerships would be throwing a party, right? No, they're actually scratching their heads wondering why they've got more Mach-E's and Lightnings than they know what to do with. It turns out EV buyers are giving dealerships the cold shoulder and going straight to the source online. As you can imagine, there's a stirring up drama between Ford and its dealerships. But for Ford, the problem is not just about having too many cars collecting dust. The traditional dealership model is like carrying around a backpack full of rocks. It's heavy and slows everyone down. Think about it, dealerships need fancy buildings, tons of staff, and a whole lot of cars just sitting pretty. All of that, it's like a giant money-sucking machine that ends up making you pay more for your shiny new ride. And get this, going direct could make inventory management smoother than ever. Instead of playing a giant game of Tetris with cars and lots, they could build exactly what people want, when they want it. Less waste, more efficiency, and you get to design your dream car from the comfort of your couch. How cool is that? But what's your take on all of this? Would you miss kicking tires at the local dealership, or are you ready to click add to cart on your next car? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for watching and see you in the next video.